Welcome back to Primetime Bets with Shuey and Shuey. It's Mark Shu. It's Joe Shuey holding it down here. And we are coming off a scorching hot week 7. I went 5 for 5. I am 12, 3 and 1 in the past 3 weeks. And Shuey, you're 4 for 5 this week as well.
I did. Had a little bit of a solid week there. Got off the bat hot early on. The only one I didn't hit last week was Detroit at +7. They didn't come out as hot as I thought they were. Didn't keep it close, but I'll take 4 out of 5.
Hey, yeah, exactly. Any week that you can go, go above 60%, you're doing well. I did have a miss. I did put down Houston +7 as a bet. So that was one miss for me, but that was not one of my best bets. And we are still through 3 weeks undefeated when the two of us agree on a best bet. So I'm feeling pretty good about where we are. I feel pretty good about, in general, where the NFL is kind of going right now. And hopefully we can keep this rolling going forward. But you know how that goes. We'll see. We'll hope that it can keep going for us. Let's roll right into this game tonight, Shuey. Neither of us took this as a best bet last week. New England currently sitting still -8, I believe, on DraftKings. Yeah. Oh, they're moved to 8.5.
8.5 now.
8.5. All right, so we're to 8.5. I liked them a lot better when they were 8. But it's not I still kind of am leaning the Patriots. I don't necessarily want to bet that. It's a lot of points to give up is the real problem. I actually might be leaning a little closer to wanting the money line. So if we're going to force this bet, or not the money line, the under, I think I like the under if you're going to take a play tonight. What do you think, Shuey?
Yeah, I definitely like it a lot better when it was 8.5. But I will also take the under on a force bet for tonight. That's at 40 points.
Yeah, under is 40 right now. You could probably, if you go through a couple different sites, you might find it at 40.5. And if you can, jump on that. But right now it looks like everything's at 40. And that's even moved down to 39.5. So yeah, 40 is a decent number. I don't really expect the Bears to put up many points in general. I could easily see this be like a 24-14 game or 24-10 game. So that's where we are on that. This week, week 8, only 2 buys, but they're big ones. We've got the Chiefs, we've got the Chargers. If you're looking for, if you need the Chargers in fantasy, you're probably hurt up right now anyway. So we're looking for options before that. But the Chiefs game last night, one of your best bets, crushing San Francisco. It's a really strong fantasy team out this week. And again, we have a lot of lopsided lines. We have a lot of unders below 45. And so it's going to be a challenge again this week. Let's go right into the Thursday night game. We've got Baltimore at Tampa Bay. If you were watching this line earlier in the week, actually Baltimore... I don't even think Baltimore was the favorite early on.
I think we opened up at 1.
Yeah, okay, so you opened at -1. You'd move to -2, move back to -1. Now we're sitting squarely at -2 on DraftKings. Over under 45 points. You're the resident Ravens fan. Why don't you go ahead and give me your analysis?
Yeah, this is a game that I will probably take the Ravens as a bet at 1.5-point favorites. But I just have a feeling that Tom Brady's get-right game is going to be against us. I don't know why. He's due, and it just seems like my Ravens luck that it's going to be against us. But the Ravens have played historically well against Brady, and I think that 1.5 points here could very well be a field goal game if our defense doesn't show up like it has been the last couple of weeks. But like I said, this could be Brady's get-back game for us. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here.
It's hard. Prime time for Brady just feels like it's hard for him to not play that well. I have to imagine. Obviously, there's a huge problem going on in Tampa Bay right now. He's getting a lot of pressure up the middle, and is not quite connecting with his receivers the way you want. You saw Mike Evans drop that obvious touchdown if he catches it, and maybe we were talking a completely different way about the Bucks. If that happens, but it's really hard. I'm avoiding this. I'm avoiding this game in general. There was a point that PointsBet had Bucks at +2.5, and if you were able to get that, I don't mind taking that side of it. But for me, it's a general avoid. Honestly, I don't really want to bet any, but we have to force bet. I guess I'm taking Tampa +2. I guess I have to. We'll have to decide if it's a Shuey or not.
That might be one of the very few that we don't line up on. There might be. I think there's like 2 games in here that we don't line up quite up on here. So.
Yeah. Well. One thing's for sure. I'm not taking a lean anymore. I'm not taking a lean again for you to win this thing. We got to. I was like, I'll take the Falcons. I was feeling riding high off that Giants win against your Ravens, and I got let one go. But
hey, I took a lean. I took a lean for you in that one.
I'm not saying you haven't been generous as well. So we'll. But I don't like taking bets that I'm not even really that comfortable making. I wasn't going to bet the Falcons. I just kind of liked them to play, and that's why we put them as a lean. But we'll see. We'll keep it going. I think this is not a bad one. I guess I like tempting you against the Ravens here. We've got one more force bet game this week. We've got Denver at Jacksonville. Jacksonville right now is favored -3. They were 3.5 for a while, and even 4 at one point. It's coming down. I actually think that's a bit of a mistake. So I know that they're saying Russell Wilson might come back. Yippee. But Jags are used to this London sort of move over. I think they kind of had a letdown game this past week, a tough fought game against the Giants. This might be Jags' home field. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they have a better home field crowd in London than they do in Jacksonville. So I kind of like the Jags to get off and maybe turn it around here. Even with a banged up Russell, I like 3 points.
Whoa, well, while we're sitting here talking about Jacksonville, Jacksonville just traded James Robinson to the Jets.
Why? Why did the Jets do that? Did they not really? I mean, I guess. Wow. So the Jags realize that James Robinson might be cooked, and the Jets are coming to pick him up. That seems really desperate to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
I like James Robinson. I've always loved him, but he's obviously not quite the same guy that he's been. The Achilles injury is hard to come back from. He's had a few good games, but sustaining it is a completely different issue. I guess if they want to win and they need a veteran, I don't hate it, but I feel like you can get a James Robinson type if you sign him off, signing them off the practice squad, like what's the difference between trading for James Robinson and like calling David Johnson and to just sign him at a minimum? I don't necessarily want either, but is there a huge difference? Is it going to make that big of a difference? I don't think so.
No, I don't know. I think it might be youth factor, and maybe they're looking at James Robinson as more of a similar style runner to Breece Hall, and then still having a good complement to Michael Carter there to have a 2-back system there.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, like that, it would be good to have a veteran presence there. We'll talk about that Jets game, and we'll talk a little more about the offense as we get there. But what are you thinking about this Jacksonville line, Shuey?
I take Jacksonville at -3 for our force bet in this game. I think that Denver looks terrible. I think that I read earlier that this could be the end-all be-all for Hackett if they lose this game, and I just don't see him getting the Denver team turned around enough to win this game. But with that trade, it looks like Travis Etienne is going to be the guy in Jacksonville. He's slowly started taking that backfield away, and I think this just kind of solidifies that this is his backfield, and he's going to be I think he's going to be a league winner for the rest of the year.
Yeah, the thing about Etienne, I felt like his draft price was a little too high, and I thought you might get some of this James Robinson nonsense early on in the year. But the problem, and this was my mistake, is now you want to trade for him, it's impossible. I wanted to trade for him the past couple of weeks, and it's impossible to do. So, looking back on the draft season, Joe, what do you think's better off? Like, do you just wait 5 weeks and take zeros? Because ultimately, the Travis Etienne manager has probably been taking L's a couple, along with this here. What's the draft strategy? Do we just move him back? Do we move him back further in the draft next year? What's the what's the play? Because honestly, I feel like it's hard to get the best of this situation drafting him or not drafting him.
I drafted him a lot in that fourth round as my RB2. Um, and I've played him just about every week. I had played him a couple places this week because of the buys where I wouldn't have played him normally. But the week prior, I didn't play him. That was the first week I sat him. But anyone that picked him knew that there might be some type of committee in there with James Robinson early, depending on how he came back. Once they said in the preseason he was coming back, I picked him knowing that he'd be in a little bit of a timeshare to start, but he's just so explosive when he gets the ball in his hand. He looks real good. So I went in knowing that it might be a little bit of a delayed kind of thing, where kind of like Kenneth Walker, where I felt like he was going to take the backfield over, but ETN, the price was a little bit earlier. Thought he would have taken over a little bit earlier in the year, but I'm still happy that I have him. And I think, like I say, I think he's going to be a league winner for a lot of people this year. And my teams that are with him, most of them are about 500, kind of middle of the pack right now.
Yeah, he will be a big piece going forward for a lot of teams. His usage was over 80% this week, and having all the pass catching work, James Robinson out of the picture. Ultimately, part of this trade probably has to do with the fact that they had to make tough decisions on putting James Robinson in the game, and they probably wanted more ATN. So they're giving him a fighting chance to do it on the Jets, and I wish him well. I've always loved James Robinson, and not a big fan of the Jets, but I do hope he plays well over there. So both of us on these forced bets, we got Tampa Bay. I've got Tampa Bay -2. Joe's got Baltimore -1.5, or I've got Tampa Bay +2. You've got Baltimore -1.5, and then we're both taking Jacksonville -3 in the London game this week. Make sure you're up early for that one. Let's go into our fantasy favorites for the week. Now we've got two of them on the primetime games. Sunday Night Football, Green Bay and Buffalo. We like those games. Maybe not as much the Green Bay side of that, but Buffalo's always a wagon. They're going to be easy to break ties in favor of Buffalo. Cincinnati at Cleveland, another fantasy favorite for me. And I think other than that, there's a few good games I really like, and we're going to start with one that we both got a best bet on. Miami at Detroit. Miami is -3. This is a best bet for both of us, Shuey. Go ahead and break it down.
Yeah, I'm taking a best bet for Miami as the 3-point favorite here. Detroit has looked bad offensively the last couple of weeks. I know they were on bye last week. Amon-Ra got hurt. Said it was a concussion, but I think Campbell came out today and said that it wasn't really a concussion, but with the new rule, they had to keep him out. So we'll see if he plays next week. Swift was supposed to play this week. Looked like he might have had a little bit of a setback or wasn't ready. So we'll see if he plays again next week. But, Tua played this week against Pittsburgh. Another week in the offense, not practicing after his injuries. I think that Miami team has a lot of weapons, and they're going to be clicking on all cylinders. And I just think that Miami is going to win this game outright.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And honestly, Pittsburgh put up a really good fight last night. It was a really good game, I thought, for the most part. Tough kind of battle. I don't see the Lions defense putting up that kind of a fight. Granted, I think the Lions will score points. I don't hate the under at 50.5 if it sticks around there. If you want to go put a dollar on the under, I don't hate that either. But for me, I have a hard time seeing Detroit keeping up with Tua and Waddle and Raheem Mostert and just all the speed that they have on that team. Ultimately, Jared Goff is going to get, behind the 8 ball a little bit, and Miami will be able to get after him. It's not a game. I know it's at home. It's not the game I see Detroit winning. And to be honest, I think it's one of those where we start having more and more questions about the Detroit team going forward. Again, it was a nice story during the offseason, and now the harsh light of day has sort of come onto that team. And despite them being able to put up some points, it's hard to see them be consistent there. So for me, I like Miami. Tua being back, there's a little bit of an energy boost for them, even though they haven't quite had a bye. They had a late game on Sunday, but I still like them to win. And again, if you want to put a dollar on the over, I wouldn't hate that either. I'm kind of avoiding it though. Next up, we've got another best bet. We again, like I said before, when Shuey and I can agree, past few weeks we've been undefeated. We have the Miami -3, and we've got another best bet, or we've got another bet that we're taking. Not a best bet, but a bet for both of us. We both like Minnesota -3.5. For me, it's Cousins. It's Justin Jefferson coming off the bye. Arizona had they have the mini bye playing against New Orleans, but I don't actually feel like that game inspired a lot of confidence for me in the Arizona offense. I think really what it showed is Andy Dalton can still throw a couple pick sixes, and really the energy at home can sway you. But going to Minnesota, had a long game. Seems like there's still tension between that offense. DeAndre Hopkins is a funnel right now, and that's really nice. But I don't know if that's great for the efficiency of the entire offense as a whole. So it was 4. It moved down to 3.5. I'm tempted to think that the public might try and bring this to 3, and maybe I wait on that, because if this was 3, it would be a best bet. It's just the bet for both of us right now. If it moves down to 3, it's best bet territory.
Yeah, no, this is definitely bet number 6 here. Borderline best bet. And, there's one thing that you're going to be seeing all over Twitter is that this is going to be Kyler Murray's Call of Duty game.
Yes.
Multiplayer releases on Thursday. Alluded to that last week. So we'll see if Kyler's going to be up all night streaming playing Call of Duty. But statistically, he's been horrible after Call of Duty launches or the double XP weekends. But, Minnesota, as crazy as it seems, they are 5-1, and they are taking care of business. Whether or not it's not very flashy, it's not very eye popping, but they're winning games. Justin Jefferson is looking to be Kirk Cousins' favorite target again. They've got the trust there, and I just think that Minnesota has a little bit better defense here than Arizona's offense, and I think that Minnesota is going to control the game and come out with a win here.
My Minnesota to win the division bet that I made back in March is feeling pretty good. Granted, I thought it was because Rodgers was leaving, not because he would be just borderline horrible at this point. But I'll take it nonetheless. Over-under in this game's 49. What do you think? Do you think we can make it? I actually have a hard time seeing Arizona keeping up to make it there.
Yeah, I don't know. I see this game being in like the low 40s.
Yeah, that's about where I am. It's tempting. Like, there's a lot of these lines. Like, the reason I have it as an avoid right now, same thing with 50.5. You can do it. I like the idea, and I would lean that way. But a lot of these games I feel like are kind of traps in that scenario. I'm more confident in Miami than I am in Minnesota and Arizona to do it. If Minnesota gets a lead at home, I think they're just going to try and kill clock, and that for me makes 49 a little scary. But the threat of like a 3-touchdown Justin Jefferson game is always looming. So, and there you go. That's why it's an avoid for me. Next one up on the schedule. This is another fantasy favorite of mine. Las Vegas at New Orleans. I don't want to bet this game at all, to be honest, but I do like the pieces that are going to be featured in this game at the very least. And when you're playing New Orleans at home, it always seems like you can turn into a track meet. So line's -2. Over under is 47.5.
Yeah, 47.5 on FanDuel, 48.5 on DraftKings. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not a big fan of really going either, but I like the implied total that it's putting out for both teams. Even with Dalton, he at the very least showed that he can keep his fantasy assets afloat, or our fantasy assets afloat. Do you have any strong leans this game, Shuey?
No, it's if I were to put any money on this, just in like some type of small, like one or two or three team parlay, I might put New Orleans in their money line just as one of those bets that adds a little bit of extra odds to the bet. But I don't. It's this line's too close for me to want to make a move on this one.
Yeah, that's where I am too. We're gonna skip Tennessee and Houston just for a second here. Oh, actually, let's go into it. You've got a best bet, so go ahead there, Shuey.
I do. I am taking a best bet of Tennessee at the 2 point favorites here against Houston. Over under is at 40.5 right now on both sites. Tennessee's at -2 on DraftKings and 1.5 on FanDuel. So make that best bet 1.5 points, not two. Like that even better. I mean, Tennessee has looked sufficient this year. They can put the points on the board. Houston hasn't looked great at all. So, I mean, I want to take Tennessee here in a divisional game where both teams should run the ball pretty heavily. And I'd also consider taking the under at 40.5. Have that as a lean here. So if you want to take the under on this one, I want to be opposed to it.
Yeah, I'm leaning Tennessee. I'm leaning the under as well. The only issue for me is Ryan Tannehill. I think that they said he might be out. If he's out there, I have no problem with that. And honestly, you're probably getting a better line now. So 1.5. I didn't see it at 1.5 when I put us in the show doc before, but 1.5. I'm kind of happy. I might even convert that into just a straight bet for me as well. Not a best bet, but I will take it. I'm just gonna hedge until I know where Tannehill's going. But honestly, Davis Mills lost. It looks like he's gonna lose Nico Collins, and that pass offense got a lot more. Gave me a lot more nervous energy once they got behind in the game. I think it's gonna be pretty hard for them to control the lead of this game. I know they're going to want to run with Dameon Pierce, but Tennessee's probably the best defense in that division, and all these offenses kind of have the same objective. I really feel like Tennessee, once they get control, that'll probably be that. So if it's -1.5, I will take that as a bet now. We'll convert that to a bet for me, and I will lean the under as well, like you are. So we're in agreement on that as well. Let's move on. San Francisco at the Rams. Rams are coming off their bye. They're at home. And yet I still feel like I want to take San Francisco. It's hard for me to see them get beat that badly against Kansas City at home. But I've got to have a feeling that they're just going to come back and right the ship right off the bat. I think with McCaffrey another week in the system and everything going into their bye, if they win this game, it keeps them at pace a little better with Seattle. And I think LA's, not that they're packing it up, but they've got a lot of issues that they're dealing with right now. I don't know if I have the confidence to put any money on LA. So -1.5, I'm leaning. You've got it as a best bet, I'm seeing. Go ahead.
I do. I'm taking San Francisco as a best bet here because I've bet against them so many times, and they have absolutely killed me. So I'm taking them in a best bet. I took the Rams against San Francisco earlier in the year, and San Francisco tore them up. They're playing in LA. Doesn't bother me too much. But like you said, McCaffrey's going to have another week in the offense, in practices. They might get a little bit more creative with him this week. I still think Jimmy G is a serviceable quarterback for that team, and their defense is back to healthy. That team they put out there last week, I think was pretty banged up. So I think that they're going to come back, and I think that San Francisco should definitely win this game as long as the Rams don't get their stuff together, like I've been saying all year.
Yeah, San Francisco always plays up to the Rams. I feel like the San Francisco's always kind of owned the Rams, and -1.5. I have it as a lean. I think I might be crazy. I might move this to a bet as well. I just have a lot of bets this week. I'm probably just feeling myself a little too much because I want to bet everything this week now. That 5-0 has got me feeling a little giddy. But one I will have to avoid is my Giants going to Seattle. Seattle's laying 3. Oh, it feels like such a good line. I don't even want to touch it. What do you think, Shuey?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't touch it. But I lean Seattle here at 3-point favorites. I mean, Geno Smith has looked really good for Seattle. We'll see if actually DK might not be in there next week, so that might change things a little bit here. But Kenneth Walker looks like the real deal. If you got him at 102 in your rookie draft last year, he is making you very happy if you're competing. if you were able to turn your team around that quickly. But yeah, I think that your Giants had a close one last week, came down to the wire again. You guys are the king of the second half. Um,
Go ahead.
so I don't know. I think you guys' luck might hang out a little bit here. Playing in Seattle, that's a tough place to go into, especially from coming as an East Coast team going out west. Um, Always tough for the teams traveling coast to coast, no matter which direction. So I'll take Seattle here at -3 as a lean.
I care a little more when the West comes east. Actually, when you look at everyone, everyone's going to London. Jags and Denver are going to London, but a West Coast team going to London feels like even worse, right? But now, yeah, same thing here. I don't really like a team traveling all the way across the coast either. -3, it just feels like a really good line. I know that the Giants are playing well. Obviously, they're doing a lot to keep themselves from, keep possession and running the ball with Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones, I'm becoming more and more impressed with Daniel Jones every single week. I'm not saying that ultimately he's probably here next year now, right? Like, I think he's good enough that he's going to have to be here next year. The Giants aren't going to be taking a first round pick this year. And so I gotta imagine he's sticking around. I like what Dable has done with him and his development, and hopefully we can see a step in the right direction for next year. I don't know how sustainable it is all year long. I think eventually it might catch up to him. It's kind of going to be a little bit like the golf situation, but at the very least, I trust Dable, and to be honest, what I trust most about the Giants is Wink Martindale and that defense and the second half adjustments that the entire coaching staff is making. I can see.
I wish he did that when he was the Ravens. I wish he did that when he was the Ravens DC. So I like what your defense is running out there.
Yeah, no. And honestly, it's crazy. I was listening to, I forget what podcast I was listening to, but there was an interview with Wink, and he was saying that he tries to put even his most aggressive stuff near the end of the game. He doesn't try to do everything all at once. He'll save some stuff for the fourth quarter, and it's really been working for him. So I'm hoping that it continues. I would love to see the Giants win, but I can't touch this one. I've been riding high on the Giants most of this year, and I've been betting them, and it's been working out pretty well for me. I cannot abide this time. Let's go on to Carolina, Atlanta. Just a disgusting game for me. I do not want to watch this one. I'm gonna probably end up watching a little bit of it. Atlanta's got 6 points they're laying right now, or it's moved down to 5. It looks like, according to you,
5.5.
Laying down to 5. As it gets closer and closer to 5, if we can get it to 4, I might like Atlanta. Right now, I'm avoiding though. How about you?
I was avoiding at 6. I like it a little bit better at 5 here. Atlanta can still put some points on the board. So I don't know if the PJ Walker experiment was a fluke last week but it seems like he is the guy no matter whichever quarterbacks are healthy this week. So he's earned the right to start. But I think I will lean Atlanta at 5 here.
Yeah, I think if you're going to go anyway, you got to lean Atlanta, or you got to take Atlanta, but it's hard. It's really hard for me to have a clear understanding of what that Carolina team is now without Christian McCaffrey. I don't even think it moves their line all that much, and PJ Walker's looking fine, but gosh, it's so hard to trust. I'd like to see one more week of it, just see it shake out, and so I think I'm just going to put this one away and say avoid. Atlanta's been doing a pretty decent job covering, except for this past week, which I'm going to be taking a shoe to the face a little later on tonight. You'll catch that on Twitter. I think their cover streak is going to start running cold here. All right, let's move on. I've got a best bet on this next game. It's it's Chicago at Dallas. We've got a 43-point over-under, 42.5-point over-under, and Dallas is laying 10.5. I'm going to take Dallas and give the points as a best bet this week. Game at home, Dak back. Dallas is figuring it out. They're a really good team here, and I still have a hard time seeing especially on a short week. They're going to be playing the Patriots. They're about to play them here any minute now. Short week, playing the Patriots on the road, going to Dallas again on the road. I just kind of like Dallas to lay those points. I know it's a lot, but home favorite, and Dallas has really been clicking. Chicago's going the complete opposite direction. I'll give those 10.5.
Mark loves the points this week. Yeah,
I am giving a lot of points.
I would lean Dallas here. I do think that Dak gets back into game speed after that game last week. They show that they can still control the clock, run the ball, and their defense looks really, really good right now.
That's the game changer for me.
Yeah, and Chicago's offense has improved, but still looks kind of meh. So I would also lean Dallas here, but I probably wouldn't put anything down on this one at the moment.
And I'm taking this as my number one best bet. So I mean, I don't know. Hope that
the points scare me. Yeah, that's all I can say. The double-digit points scare me.
Well, just take comfort in knowing that scoring points scares the Bears. So it'll probably be all right. I'll take Dallas minus 10.5 as my number one best bet. And we're gonna move right along to New England at the Jets. New England on a short week, going to New York, but losing Breece Hall. I don't like what they've really been showcasing with Zach Wilson. He's clearly trying to be, they've really been trying to hide him a little bit with the defense and Breece Hall. And Breece Hall's had, a few 30-plus yard touchdown runs here. God, I wish he gets back healthy. Hard out for Breece Hall right now, tearing his ACL. Hopefully he has a speedy recovery and we see him back next year just crushing it again. But I think this is going to be one that takes the wind out of the Jets' sails a little bit. It can, I believe this can flip New England to jump them in the standings. And I just feel like they're going to be the team that imposes their will. I'm going to take 2.5. This is my number 2 best bet. New England minus 2.5 against the Jets.
Yeah, I want to take this as a best bet as well for New England at 2.5-point favorites. And I will also consider the under at 41.
I also like the under at 41 as well. It's honestly, if Zach Wilson can't put up more than 17 points against Denver with Brett Rippon, I mean, if you watch any of that game, it was just I don't think there was a time where they were beyond midfield for more than like 10 minutes of the game, either team. So I don't see Jets holding up their end of the bargain to even get it close to this. The only thing I can see happening is if, New England ends up putting up like 28 just as a route. That would be the only avenue that I kind of see them not hitting the under. So under is still just a lean for me. I do like laying the points for New England right now, though. I never feel great about laying points on a road favorite, but we'll do it this time. Moving on, it's the Battle of Pennsylvania. It's Pittsburgh going to Philadelphia. 1:00 game. Philly's coming off a bye. Pittsburgh's coming off a tough loss to Miami on the road. Another game where we've got back-to-back road games. And I'm going to lay another 10.5 on the Eagles. These Eagles have not hurt me so far. Please, Jalen Hurts, show me what you got here. I really think that this one, they're going to run away with this one. I know that it gets to be a hard-fought game. But honestly, if all Kenny Pickett can muster against the Dolphins defense is 10 points, I could see them trying to just straight up blank them if they could. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but I think this game, I like the under. Well, what's the under right now? 44 and a half?
44 and a half. Or yeah.
I don't mind the under all that much if you're going to do this kind of bet. If you want to take it as a parlay where you take the Eagles points and you hit the under. I know that's a little risky there, but I kind of like that play if you go there. But number 5 best bet, I'll take the Eagles minus 10.5.
Yeah, I know you love the points, but like I said, the points scare me, especially that big. And I mean, Philadelphia has been clicking on all cylinders. They're 6-0, and they're hot. Yeah, I mean, if you want to take the bet, I like Philly, but it scares me. It scares me. Pittsburgh has been playing better than expected, I would say. I think Pickett has looked relatively well out there for a rookie. He can get the ball moving a little bit. He's looked really good in the red zone on the ground, especially around the goal line. I think he's definitely snatched some touchdowns from Najee over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, best bet for Mark, and we'll see if he wins with the points.
Yeah, I'll be laying a lot of them. I gotta say, this is not a week that I feel like I'll probably go 5-0 again, but it's hard, Sometimes these lines just. I mean, right now I'm about to take. We'll talk about. Going to be willing to lay 10.5 on Buffalo too. It's not going to be a best bet, but honestly, some of these teams. I mean, Pittsburgh is turning it around. I can't really deny that, but they've got to be tired. They are coming up to their bye here. This is going to be a point of pride game. It's the Battle of Pennsylvania, but I still can't see them showing up against this Eagles team right now. This Eagles team is playing too well. The home field advantage at the Link is one of the best in the NFL right now, and I'm going to be happy to just lay the points and go for it. Let's move to Washington at Indianapolis. It was Indy -4. It's kind of slowly made its way to -3. With Heineke playing for Washington, I still am kind of okay taking the points and taking Washington here. Don't know what Sam Ehlinger's going to look like starting this game. There was news this afternoon that Matt Ryan is not going to be starting anymore, and Sam Ehlinger is taking over. So with that, I'm kind of happy to take the points on Washington here. It is not a bet for me. It's only a lean, though.
Yeah, I will lean Washington at +3 here. I mean, Heineke's a gunslinger. He's going to go out there and whip that ball around. He likes throwing it to everybody. I think Curtis Samuel had a good week last week. McLaurin had a good week, and then Antonio Gibson had some receptions last week as well. So he's gonna whip that ball around. I kind of like the Washington from a fantasy perspective better with Heineke than Wentz to an extent. Just because I know he's going to be throwing it around a little bit. He's a little more mobile, gets moving around. So I'll take Washington at +3 here on a lean.
I think all these even Wentz obviously was able to get hot early on. I think Heineke will stay hot for a couple games here. But it's sort of a countdown until all these guys kind of turn back into pumpkins. Ellinger might catch some fire, and right. he's gonna have the same sort of thing. PJ Walker, all these guys, they might have a couple good games here or there. I like Heineke. He's at the very least he's got that scramble ability. He's gonna try and extend the play, get the first down, and keep themselves on the field. And sometimes I feel like Carson is more likely to just fumble it away for them. So there's that to be said. I think he's unlocking Terry McLaurin a little better. And actually, I think that Antonio Gibson might still have control of this backfield now that Brian Robinson has been integrated. I think Gibson might end up still edging out Robinson over the long haul. What do you think about Gibson rest of the season here?
I still like Gibson. If Heineke remains the quarterback there, I know you want to see Howell getting there. But I think
it is what it is. I do like Sam Howell. Obviously, they're not going to do anything to jeopardize the season while they still think they have a chance. I don't know why they think they do have a chance. But while they're going to start him. I think Sam Howell will get his due time. But right now, we'll let Heineke mess around. I have him as insurance in all the teams that I drafted Sam Howell at this point anyway.
Looking at the stat line from yesterday, Brian Robinson had 20 carries to Gibson's 10. And Gibson had 3 receptions to Robinson's 2. So, it looks like Robinson looks to be the early down guy for the most part, and I think he provides more of that kind of that power run compared to what Gibson does.
Sure. I still feel like Gibson has looked better these past 2 weeks. And I know that I don't know what's going on with him and Ron Rivera. I don't know what's going on with Gibson in general, but I feel like the past couple weeks he's at least looked better, more like his old self. And for me, that looks better than what Brian Robinson has put out so far. Obviously, I think he'll ramp it up a little more going. And maybe this is just a nice committee that we have here. If they can just sort of kick out McKissick a little bit and let Antonio Gibson catch the ball a little bit. But I don't know. I still feel like you're not going to like it, but I still feel like Antonio Gibson is going to give you plenty of good fantasy value this year.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a good kind of RB3 where you can plug him in on a bye week and expect to get that 7 to 15 points if he gets the touchdown. So he'll put you something on the board, but I don't think he's not gonna blow you away or win you a week.
I agree with that. And that's kind of where I am with what I'm saying with Brian Robinson, because honestly, I feel like they're both going to be slotted into that RB3 for your fantasy team kind of player. And with that, I'd rather the upside of Gibson, because I think it seems like Robinson's been more between the 20s, and he's a bit of a, he doesn't quite have the breakaway speed that you want from a running back, that does run between the 20s. I see more Gibson being that big play guy, and with that, I'd rather take him in those situations, or break my ties in favor of him, even though the touches might be down, and who knows, they might even out as well. All right, here comes me laying more points. It's Buffalo taking on Green Bay at home. Buffalo's coming off the bye. Green Bay looks like trash. They've lost by double digits, I think 3 weeks in a row now, to the Jets, to the Giants, and now last week to the Commanders. If the trend's going to continue, it might as well continue in Buffalo. So I'm happy to lay these points as well. I know that just like with the Brady game, I think this might come back, but I don't have that much. I have way less confidence in Rodgers doing it with the cast of offense that he has around him than I do Tampa Bay. So their defense doesn't look great. Their offense doesn't look great. And they're still kind of just looking for answers. I'm much more willing to throw 10 down on Buffalo than I am on my lean for Tampa Bay. But right now we're not. I don't know if we're at rock bottom for either Green Bay or Tampa Bay.
Yeah, those guys can turn around at any point. They have the weapons there. Maybe some philosophical changes from the coaching staffs kind of mix some things up here. But since you're making me do a force bet here, I will actually take the points with Buffalo and hope that they put up 40 points, because I think that they can. Over-under is at 47.5. I think Buffalo, compared to Philly and Dallas, I think that by themselves, they can get themselves close to that over-under line there. So, I can see Buffalo putting up 30, 40 points in this game against this horrible Packers defense, how they looked in the last couple of weeks. And not comfortable with it, but that is my best line available in this game. Buffalo money line would obviously be the favorite, but you're not making anything off of that.
Yeah, it's I'd rather just lay the points in this scenario. It's too many points, and probably I can't imagine that the number is going to be all that good for Buffalo money line. So I'll lay the points. I'll gamble a little bit, to be honest. Think about this. You put it in Green Bay. Is it really a 4.5 point favorite for Buffalo? It's probably a 7 point favorite, right? Like I would probably still put him as a 7 point favorite in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Especially with how everything's going right now. So 10.5 really doesn't seem like all that much to me. So that is another bet, not a best bet. It's a forced bet for both of us, but a bet nonetheless, not a lean, not an avoid, a bet for us. And we're rolling in another. We're like simpatico on a lot of our bets tonight. We got Miami. We've got you've got Tennessee. I like that one as well. I like San Francisco. You're betting San Francisco. We're both going on our best bets. We've got Miami -3. We've got New England -2.5, and our third best bet, Cincinnati -3 against Cleveland. Halloween night, I'm gonna take the orange and black. Maybe that's it, but the swag is back in Cincinnati. I've been denying it a little bit here. They haven't looked up to snuff for a while. I don't know if it's something that changed in the last half of that New Orleans game where they were down pretty bad and Jamar Chase took them back. they said this week, let's go back on Jamar Chase's shoulders and manifest it to happen. It's changed sort of how their offense is. They're passing one of the highest rates in the league right now. And with that offense is clicking. Cleveland is slowly showing who they are without a legitimate starting quarterback. Their defense is atrocious. I think -3. Obviously, it's a divisional game. You're taking the road favorite, and you never feel great about that. But I'm feeling good about Cincinnati. I think ultimately they've got to make up for some lost time here at the beginning of the season, and they're going to make hay while the sun's shining.
As much as I'd love to see Cleveland come out with a win in this game, I think that Cincinnati is going to pull it out. I don't think it should be that close, but you never know with these divisional games. The AFC North loves to keep games close where they don't need to be, beat the crap out of each other. But Cincinnati looks like that they are clicking. Burrow threw for 400 plus and 4 touchdowns last week. Jamar Chase came back in that game last week after the injury scare, so he should be good to go this week. But Cincinnati looks good. They've been cover kings the last 6 weeks, so I'll take Cincinnati here again as a best bet.
Yeah, again, so Miami, New England, Cincinnati, we're all taking both of us are taking those. Hopefully we can keep our undefeated, or at the very least get maybe 2 or 3. Let's roll out our best bets. Mine, number 5, Eagles -10.5. That's on FanDuel right now. My 4, Cincinnati -3. My third one, Miami -3. Then I'm going number 2, New England -2.5. And my number 1 best bet, Dallas -10.5 at home. Should we go with yours?
And my best bets in no particular order are Miami 3-point favorites, Tennessee 1.5-point favorites, San Francisco 1.5, New England 2.5-point favorites, and Cincinnati at 3. And then our other bets that we have on there together, Mark, are Minnesota at -3.5. And then if you want to call it a shared bet here, since we both have it as a bet, we can put Buffalo at 10.5-point favorites down there as well. So what's that?
Yes.
5? Is that 5 we line up this week on?
We've got 5 shared. 3 of them are best bets right now. So far we've been doing pretty well. We've been collecting pretty nicely the past couple weeks. Let's keep it rolling. Again, remember that we're doing this for fun and inside our means. If you have a problem with gambling, please make sure you're seeking help. There are a number of different lifelines that you can contact in your particular state. And we hope the best for you this week. Go enjoy this game tonight. I'm betting the under, so we probably won't get that much scoring. So hopefully we get some really nice. Hopefully, get a really nice Ramondre Stevenson rushing touchdown from like 40 yards out or something to really buoy this game. Or Mac Jones just goes off. But enjoy the game tonight. It's football. You're going to enjoy it for sure. We'll see you next week with a few more bets, and we'll go over how Week 8 went for us. So have a good weekend, everybody, and let's have fun out there.